Welcome to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And we are honored to be with Doug Conant. He's the founder and CEO of ConantLeadership, former Fortune 500 CEO who's a New York Times and Wall Street Journal best-selling author, a top 50 leadership innovator, top 100 leadership speaker, top 15 leadership guru, and a top 100 most influential author in the world. Doesn't get much better than that. So, Doug, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, and I'm excited to be with you. You know, it's exciting to me because my daughter-in-law hails from Memphis. Absolutely. And I've grown to love Memphis ever since the wedding 2 years ago. So I'm thrilled to be on with you.
Well, we're honored to have you indeed. Let's start with a little bit of your backstory, because when you talk about the Fortune 500 companies, and on your end, president of the Nabisco Foods Company, CEO of Campbell Soup Company, chairman of Avon Products, you have a really amazing story on that side. And so give us a little bit of how you got into corporate America.
Well, I didn't know what else to do. Quite frankly, like a lot of other folks my age, I went to undergraduate actually on a tennis scholarship at Northwestern University. I played for Claire Reeson, Marty Reeson's father, and had a good run there. And then I had a chance. I didn't know what to do when I graduated. And I had a chance to stay and work for the athletic department and they paid for my education, getting an MBA at Northwestern, now the Kellogg School of Management. And so I just stayed. I worked for the athletic department, and I got my master's in business administration. And I got out. I was 24 years old and didn't know what to do. So I don't know if you're too young, Jeremy, but the movie The Graduate, there's a scene in there where Dustin Hoffman has graduated from college, and he's at one of his parents' pool parties, and he doesn't know what he's going to do with his life. And this elderly gentleman, who looked really old to me at the time, he's probably around my age or younger, he put his arm around him. He said, I have one word for you: plastics. And the idea was get into plastics. And my advisor at Northwestern had two words for me, put his arm around me figuratively, and said, get into brand management. And so I did. And the consumer products industry was where brand management was born in the 70s. And so I got into brand management, went to work for food companies who were hiring. And the rest is history. 45 years later, I'm talking about it as if it was ancient history. But so that's how I got into it. And what I love about work, what I love about the entire corporate experience is you're working shoulder to shoulder with people. People not only who are corporate employees, but their mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers and grandparents to grandchildren. They're everyday people just trying to figure out, how can I get ahead? How can I realize my full potential and also take care of my family? And there's so many stories and so many experiences that I've been able to have as a result of being part of that current. It's been a great ride. And now I'm in a pay it forward time. I think I probably always was trying to pay it forward. I always felt blessed, like I felt lucky. And so I'm always trying to pay it forward. But now I'm just trying to help people who are dealing with, obviously, some very challenging times.
Yeah, and I love your philosophy, and we'll definitely talk about the philanthropic focus, because I think that's such a huge part of your heart. Give us one, fond memory when you talk about Campbell Soup Company, because you stepped in and played a really pivotal role in turning the company around. And even when you think about DE&I, which has become a big buzzword now, diversity, equity, inclusion, you played a very prominent role in that too. And so talk about some of your experiences, or give me maybe one that stands out with Campbell Soup Company.
When I went to Campbell Soup Company, I'd already been through some wars in the consumer products industry. Before that, I was with Nabisco right at the time when they had barbarians at the gate, the world's largest LBO, very toxic environment. We weathered that storm, and then I was recruited to be CEO of Campbell. Went in there. They had lost half their market value in 1 year. They were being investigated by the government, multiple government agencies for malfeasance. They had had several layoffs. It was even more toxic than my experience at Nabisco, which was shocking. And we were headquartered in the poorest, most dangerous city in the United States, which is not Memphis. It was Camden, New Jersey. We had 75,000 people and 70 murders a year. I mean, it is a horrible confluence of factors. And it was, the entire workforce was very disheartened. And I have a fundamental belief, if people don't take anything else away from me, from this conversation, it's all about the people. As a leader, 99 out of 100 decisions are made when you're not in the room. And if they're important, by the time you hear about them, they're going to be repackaged so they make sense, even if they don't. You're totally dependent on the people you're working for and with. And I just don't believe that you can ask people to care about your agenda as an enterprise unless you tangibly demonstrate to them that you care about their agenda as individuals. It just won't work. In the spirit of that, I preach all the time that you have to be winning in the workplace before you can ever dream about winning in the marketplace in a sustainable way. And so we had the poorest employee engagement in the Fortune 500 when we started. And a decade later, we had the best employee engagement in the Fortune 500. And it was a nice, steady rise. And why? How did we do that? Well, we worked hard, but we cared. And we cared every day. And then we cared a little more the next day. We cared not just about people, we cared about people and performance. And man, you lean into that notion and it's amazing what you can do. One last thought. You don't have to be perfect in this game. You just have to be better than the other guy. And let me tell you, the other guy screwed up too. So, if you just get on the right track and you work it, you can really differentiate yourself. And I take great pride in the kind of caring cultures we built at Nabisco, at Campbell, and the kind of caring cultures we help build right now through Conant Leadership.
Go ahead and dive into Conant Leadership. And I love the fact that for you, it's about the meaning, it's about the legacy, it's about the giving, it's not about the money. And so I think that's a really cool twist on how you go about not only the leadership and kind of the academic side, the curriculum side, but really about the execution and the day-to-day in terms of the giving of all of these resources and information. So dive in deeper on Conant Leadership.
Look, I've done very well financially. So, part of this is I can afford to do this. Let's be realistic. But a big part of this is I've been incredibly blessed. Our family's been incredibly blessed, and people need help. So what we do at Conant Leadership, we say we're in it for the meaning, not the money. I don't get paid anything. I've been doing this now for 12 years. We do charge for a few things, just to cover our overhead, the people that work for me, so I can pay them. And if we make any more money than that, we give it away. And, we've given away hundreds of thousands of dollars to organizations that are trying to move the world forward in terms of helping cultivate enlightened leadership. And so it's worked out to be a wonderfully virtuous circle. We work hard to advance enlightened leadership. We get subsidized for it a bit. I can pay all the employees. We usually have money left over, and then the employees get to choose how we give it away. And it's been great. It was tough in COVID because all the old world changed, and but we're out of that now, and we're back, and we're good and giving. And I know you practice that. You believe in the power of good forgiving, and we do too. And what we find is the more we give, the more blessed we become. And wow, how fortunate is that? And I got to tell you, they have a phrase now. I just learned this last week. There used to be, in my generation, we called it the VUCA world. VUCA, volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. Now, your generation has a new word. You probably don't even know this word. There's a cultural anthropologist, Cassio is his name, and the new word is BANI. Instead of volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous, the new word is BANI, BANI. It's brittle, anxious, nonlinear, incomprehensible. That's the way the world operates today. The levels of anxiety are at an all-time high. And people like you and I who have an opportunity to give back, we need to double down and give back more because the community needs it and they deserve it. So that's the game we're in. We teach it. We use social media to send encouraging leadership advice out to all those who are curious. We are in daily dialogue with about 400,000 people, and it feels good. We're trying to build a better world.
Absolutely.
And by the way, we're helping.
Well, and you have events, you have virtual opportunities to plug in. And so talk about upcoming events, talk about some of the in-person and obviously the virtual side as well.
Well, we just finished doing a terrific event with PricewaterhouseCoopers in Maryland, where I opened the program and President Bush closed it. I suggested that I could be the closer and he could open for me. They didn't buy that. Beyond that, we also just did an event up in Michigan, a program with Malcolm Gladwell, and which was another cool event. We have a virtual summit coming up that we do twice a year, where we have guest speakers coming in. We have Bill George, former chairman, CEO of Medtronic, Harvard Business School professor, wrote a brilliant business book called True North. And he's written another one called True North for Emerging Leaders, Next Generation Leaders, which is terrific. I'll interview him on, I think, Monday. On Tuesday, I'll talk to Cynthia Covey-Haller. She's the oldest daughter of Stephen Covey. She started a book when Stephen passed with him, and she didn't have the heart to finish it, but she's now finished it. It's a terrific book called Crescendo. Your most important work is always ahead of you. Crescendo. I'm going to talk to her about this. It's really a powerful book. And then on Wednesday, which is Administrative Professional Day, we have two amazing women. One who was Olympia Dukakis, administrative assistant, who's now the leading advocate for administrative professionals in the country. And then another one who's fascinating, Ann Hyatt, who started her career after college working 3 feet away from the founder and CEO of this little startup called Amazon. And she worked with Jeff Bezos for a number of years, went on, got her PhD, and then went to work at Google and worked in the C-suite there, helping Marissa Mayer and a third person who was the CEO, who I can't remember. And the story I love about these admins is they started at entry level, but they didn't let it stop them. You know, they reached for the stars and they found a way to make a difference in a huge way. And I think that's a story worth telling for all of us. And then I think my last day is with John Gordon, who is a great motivational speaker, wrote The Energy Bus, and his daughter is now coming into the motivational speaker space, Jade Gordon, and I'm going to do an interview with the two of them. And then do another day with people that have been through my Blueprint Bootcamp program. These kind of things are all free. And we're trying to do our theme at Conant Leadership is we're champions of leadership that works. A lot of people comment on leadership but haven't done it. A lot of people do it but don't comment on it. we've sort of tried to build the bridge. That's why I'm the only Fortune 500 executive who's also recognized as a leading thinker and writer on the subject. It very rarely do you get I guess I'm a unicorn. I never thought about it like that, but I'm a unicorn anyway. So that's the kind of work we do, and it's great.
Where does your purpose in terms of community engagement, of philanthropy, where does that come from? Is that something that you always grew up with? Was that something that kind of stepped in, later? Where does that community service and where does that thread come from on your end?
Well, I've been doing it since I started working. When I started working at General Mills in brand management, I got involved in junior achievement. I moved to Minneapolis, didn't know a soul. And then I heard about this junior achievement club that needed an executive. So I did that. And I've been doing it ever since. And I find it, I like for my work, I like when I'm at work, I like to be helping people, which anybody can do. But I love to have some space outside of my work where I can also be giving and also learning a lot and getting stuff too. So I've sort of had parallel lives in terms of giving and getting, both in work and out of work, since I was in my early 20s. I don't really know where it comes from. It doesn't necessarily come from the way I grew up, but it's in there somewhere. I can't explain it. But I'll tell you, the more we do this kind of work at Conant Leadership, the more juice we've got. It feels so good to be helping in a time, or trying to help in a time that's so challenging for folks.
Well, we're excited. We're going to try to bring you in as a guest speaker for our signature speaker series events in Memphis and Nashville. So we're definitely excited to continue this conversation and carry it forward. But for everyone to learn more, where do we go to learn more? Where do we go to get your books? And so talk about website, social media. Where do we go to learn more and plug in with Conant Leadership?
You can reach us on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. And our website, which will connect you to everything, is ConantLeadership.com.
The website again, ConantLeadership.com, CONANT leadership.com. Well, Doug, thank you for all you do. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you for coming on the show.
Happy to be here.